All right, everybody, listen to On Air Ruben Jay. This next portion of the show, it's a big deal for me here. This man, his band just came out with a new album called The Last Hero. It's available everywhere where music is sold. You can download it on iTunes, Best Buy, Amazon, the whole nine yards. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Myles Kennedy. Myles, welcome to On Air with Ruben Jay.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. You are welcome on the show, literally anytime. And we'll get into that later because I do have a story to tell you at the end of this interview here. But I want to get started with you because I've been listening to Alter Bridge since day one. You know, I followed the band since they were Creed. And, when you came into the picture, I didn't really know much about you. So I do want to know a little bit more about, your early days. I know you had the Mayfield 4 and doing that. But I want to know, like, what got you into playing music to begin with?
Well, as far as playing music, my mom, really, she, when I was about 10 years old, wanted me to have some sort of, access to a musical instrument. And so at the time, I chose the trumpet and played in the school bands. And that actually went on all the way up through the end of high school. But probably about 5 years later is when I got bit by the guitar bug, and I got bit pretty ferociously because once I heard Eruption by Eddie Van Halen, I was just like, well, that's what I wanted. I want to do that right there. I mean, the trumpet was fun and all, but that sounded like something from outer space. So yeah, I guess ultimately probably the moment that's really started me on the rock journey or becoming a rock musician was probably hearing Eddie Van Halen play.
Awesome. Now you were in a couple bands. The one that I think probably got you like your initial mainstream success. Would you consider that to be Mayfield 4?
Yeah, Mayfield was the first, I guess, opportunity to record records on a national level with a big label and all of that. So I'd done a few records prior to that with local bands here in Spokane where I live, but yeah, Mayfield was my first real big opportunity.
So I guess my question with that is what happened to Mayfield 4? Like, why did all of a sudden you found yourself no longer in a band in the early 2000s?
Well, I think what happened was though getting signed was an awesome experience, and when I think of all the amazing things I've had the opportunity to do in the last couple decades, that initial experience of getting plucked by, a big label and it, flown across the country and meeting with these people, and it essentially kind of validates you, as an artist. It's your first real experience with how it feels to be accepted by somebody outside of just your friends and family. And so that was really cool. But what I learned also is that once you're in the stable and you kind of learn how the music business works, and it's pretty tough. And generally what happens is your songs or your record kind of gets thrown against the wall for a brief period of time and to see if it sticks. And if every piece is not in place, you find out real quickly that you can just be a rock and roll casualty. So I guess I was pretty disillusioned after 5 years of being with the Mayfield 4 and trying to kind of swim upstream, and so I was really just needing to reevaluate where I was going with life and whether I was going to put my rock and roll cleats back on. So we disbanded. We disbanded probably around 2002, right in that area.
So, and you took a couple of years just teaching music, teaching guitar, probably locally. And I know that there was some talk about you joining the Velvet Revolver project, and then ultimately ended up joining Mark Tremonti's project, Alter Bridge. Going into that first record, did you feel any sort of pressure to live up to the Creed brand name and value, or did you know from day one that you guys were a whole new project and you didn't feel that pressure? What was going through your head to that first Alter Bridge album, the One Day Remains album?
Well, I think that, obviously I knew the magnitude of the situation I was stepping into, but fortunately I knew that there was no intention of playing Creed songs. There was no intention of basically. I mean, it wasn't like I was joining "quote unquote" Creed. It was just I was playing with 3/4 of the band, and they were wanting to start with a fresh, totally fresh catalog. And so that definitely made it easier. But I'm certainly, or I was certainly aware of just the fact they sold 30 million records. So there was going to be expectation. There's going to be a certain level of scrutiny. So I remember telling myself very early on that I would do my best not to, read things or have the need to know what the world was saying, because I knew not all of it was going to be positive, because it's just kind of like the analogy I would use back then is it's like you're taking classic Coke and you're changing the formula. I mean, I remember when that happened back in the day, and I remember there was such an uproar. Well, we want this is the formula we're used to here, so why are you changing things? And I knew that throwing my voice into the equation would be the equivalent of Coca-Cola. So I just was like, don't pay attention, just do what you do, show up every night, play the songs, and just keep your nose down and keep working.
Yeah, man. And I'll let you know this now, that first Alter Bridge record is very near and dear to my heart. The second Alter Bridge record, even just as much. And I'll tell you that towards the end of the interview, so that way it doesn't get too crazy emotional here in the beginning. But it was really exciting because I know that there was a period there between One Day Remains and Blackbird where, I was like, what happened to this band? Like, I love Alter Bridge. I love their music. What happened to them? I haven't seen them. I think at one point your website got discontinued or something so can you explain, real briefly what happened between the One Day Remains album and the Blackbird album? I know you guys bought yourselves out of Wind Up and eventually ended up on Universal. Can you explain briefly what happened there?
Sure. Yeah. What happened was, we put out One Day Remains, and we toured on it extensively, and we realized that the relationship we had with Wind Up was not going to work. So we were essentially trying to figure out how to rectify that and what would be the appropriate way for us to exit. So it was a lot of time with lawyers and management and negotiations, and it was a real drag. It's definitely not why any musician gets in the business unless they have a secret desire to be either a lawyer or a manager. Because what we want to do is play and write songs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a frustrating time, and I think that Blackbird reflected a lot of those emotions. I think that certainly a song like Ties That Bind kind of manifested how we were feeling at that point. But fortunately everything worked out.
Yeah, and it was exciting to see and hear Rise Up on. I remember watching, I think it was the CW network or something, and then seeing Rise Up as one of the soundtracks to the show, and on the bottom lower third it said, Rise Up by Alter Bridge. I'm like, oh, they're back. Well, I gotta do all this research and find you guys again, and it was great. So now here you guys are, about 12 years into the Alter Bridge journey. You guys this is your fifth studio record, The Last Hero. Again, available everywhere. You guys actually can click the link down below to purchase it through my Amazon store. With that being said, what out of all five of these records, I'm going to ask probably the impossible question to answer. Which record is your favorite?
Well, I would probably say Blackbird tends to be the one that will Mark and I, but I think The Last Hero is a close second at this point. And it even flip-flops for me right now. So, and I never say that about a record we just released because I like to have a little more perspective. But yeah, it's going to be between Blackbird and The Last Hero for sure.
Speaking of Last Hero, I have the lyrics in front of me for The Last Hero, the song, and it's pretty clear what the theme of the song is. It's a very politically driven song, talking about social heroes and political heroes. And there's a couple lines here that I'm going to read to you right now. It says, "I remember dreaming not so long ago the change was going to come. I still had hope. How long must I keep waiting, feeling so ignored? Is anything worth saving anymore?" And I'm going to ask a very blunt question here. Is this song about Obama?
You were the very first person to pick up on that. It could be. I mean, it could be. I mean, I tried to keep it open to interpretation, but I could see how, especially when you read those lines there, how someone could take that and extract that meaning from it. I mean, look, it's definitely something that I think a lot of people can relate to, and you know, I 8 years ago when we had him come into office, there was definitely a very optimistic and hopeful feeling amongst a lot of people in this country. So yeah, you could be right, you could be wrong. I try not to give a definitive answer to any song, just because I think it's important to have it have meaning in everyone's lives, how they choose to essentially extract the meaning from the song. I did a poor job of articulating that, but yeah, you could certainly tie that in with it for sure.
Well, I will say this: The Last Hero, the song "The Last Hero" is very much describes the political climate that we're in right now. I mean, anyone who listens to the song, I highly recommend you find the lyrics or open up the booklet that comes with the album and read the lyrics as you're listening to the song, because you'll be able to picture it a lot more.
Right.
So Alter Bridge, The Last Hero, out now, guys. Go purchase it. I do want to talk to you about your solo record that seems to have been coming out since as long as Alter Bridge has been together.
Right.
I know. I heard an interview where you said it's being mixed right now. Can you give us an update as to a timeline, maybe when that might come out, and any information you can give us about that record?
Sure. You know, I think that given how busy things are, at least for the next 12 months, for sure, I have a difficult time seeing that would be a solo record to be released between now and, you know, say next October. Yeah, it's a record that was initially started. Actually, some of the songs are from like 2002. I mean, they've been around for a long time, so it's an interesting kind of. It's almost like not a greatest hits record, greatest hits that never were record. But yeah, I've been chipping away at that for a long time, and just trying to find the appropriate window to release it, because obviously there's no point in just throwing something out there if you have no intention of touring it or promoting it. So we'll get that figured out, hopefully sooner than later.
Do you have a name for it yet?
I don't have a name for it. It's I got to get that sorted.
Well, there's a lot you probably have to do for that record, and I've been waiting for that record since I think the first talk of it came in like 2008, 2009 when the Creed reunion happened. So
yeah, that's when it started.
Yeah, we've been waiting for it for a while, Myles. It's almost time.
Awesome.
Now, I told you I do have a quick personal story to tell you, and actually a thank you as well. In 2006, actually almost 10 years to the date, I lost my brother, and
oh man, I'm sorry.
That first Alter Bridge record really gave me the strength to get through those days. You know, and people always ask me why I'm so passionate about Alter Bridge and about, you know, your Slash project and what Tremonti does, and I credit it to October 25th, 2006, when I had to go to school the next day after losing my brother, and the only thing I had in my backpack other than schoolwork was One Day Remains, a CD player, and headphones. And every chance I felt like breaking down, I had to pull out that CD player, and I had to listen to, you know, In Loving Memory, and, you know, just the whole album. And so I want to thank you for having that out at the time. And then Blackbird obviously came out shortly thereafter, and helped me cope with that continuously. And then you put out this record, and you have a song like "You Will Be Remembered," and I'm crying like a baby in my car listening to that song. So I just wanted to let you know that and this interview means so much to me, just because it is kind of a full circle and a chapter being written a story that is very one-sided because you don't know me personally, but I feel like I know you probably a lot more than you'll ever know me. And just a thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in Los Angeles when you guys come out here. And I'm probably going to start crying now, but but thank you so much for everything.
Thanks for sharing that, man. I really appreciate hearing that. It means the world to us to know that, you know, our music helped you get through a tough time. Really sorry to hear, but what happened to your brother, if you don't mind me asking?
He had a heart issue. He was much older than I am. He was 48 at the time and just died of a heart attack. And
oh man,
kind of a weird side story. This album came out at the perfect time because my mom right now is battling cancer, and so it's like, okay, I have another solace, another album to get me through these tough days, and that's why a song like "You Will Be Remembered" just breaks me down every single time I hear it. It's like I don't understand how you can write these lyrics that just make me cry every single time, and just gets me and gets straight to my core.
Well, thank you for sharing that, man. That you have no idea how much that means, and that's why we continue to make music. So good on you, as they say.
Yeah. Well, Myles, I'm gonna let you go here now because it's end of my time with you right now. But thank you again so much. Everyone gets to follow him on Twitter at Myles Kennedy, Instagram at Myles Kennedy Official, Facebook, Alter Bridge. You can find alterbridge.com. Go find him on all that stuff. Go buy The Last Hero. Out now. Myles, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ruben. You take care of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.